look, this is a casting, if you will, okay? It's as though we're casting a television show or a movie. And if you're casting, and you're casting someone, let's be fair, I don't mean that it's completely superficial. You need to cast someone, find someone who agrees with your politics, who can agree with your style of governance, and who can even interact with you in the way that you want to deal with someone. I mean, it can be a sense of humor. It can be a sense of boiling stuff down for a conversation. These are things that are important from the standpoint of just dealing with somebody co-piloting an effort to win the election. I'd also like to make this point. Once the election is won, it doesn't matter who the vice president was. They're over doing something else. Frankly, look at the quotes about vice presidencies. There's a famous one. Google it. I'm trying to remember who. There's a famous quote about being vice president.
Google it.
It's something along the lines of, it's from a famous politician who said, there is never, it's one of the, I want to say it was one of the first 4 or 5 people to hold the job. So it might have been John Adams or someone like that who said, there is no job which demands less, which is easier or demands less than being vice president of the United States. Mm. Now, I'm not saying it's still that way, but I'm saying that you're not going to have a lot to do with the day-to-day of the presidential policy. I think that's a fair thing to say. When you look at Kamala Harris and you look at Tim Walz, one guy looks like the Midwest. I mean, he is, older white dude who looks like he goes hunting on the weekends. I mean, that really is, and by the way, that is who he is. And Kamala Harris, who is being played off as a radical, progressive Californian, it's good to have Walz on the ticket, at least, again, because superficially, at first glance, you have that balance. Now, the reality is that he is a progressive governor with great success. He was born in small-town Nebraska. He became a teacher, first in China, then in Nebraska, and finally in Minnesota, where he taught geography, coached the high school football team. He was the faculty advisor for the school's first Gay-Straight Alliance chapter back in 1999.
Wow.
Long before the Democrats stood for gay rights, this guy was actually dealing with those who had a lot of these issues in a school setting. He also served in the Army National Guard for 24 years. He enlisted at age 17. That took him around the country and on a deployment to Europe. And like J.D. Vance, he has a penchant for Diet Mountain Dew.
What?
Oh, God. I don't know. He looks a little, he's what, 60?
Yeah, he's 60.
He's got to stop the Diet Mountain Dew.
Frankly, a lot of politicians are just not normal, said a gun control advocate and a Walz fan. They just don't know how to talk to normal people. But he comes across as what he is, a straight-talking teacher, America's youth football coach. Quote, he's right out of central casting as the way you think of a Minnesota governor. Walz first ran for office in 2006. There he is with his Diet Mountain Dew. In a Republican-leaning congressional district, he won. He knocked off the Republican incumbent in an upset in 2006. He kept the district until 2016. And it was cycle after cycle, GOP candidates ran against him, and he beat them all. Then in 2018, he ran for governor and won, and then defended the seat successfully in 2022. He's now the chair of the Democratic Governors Association, so that's given him a national profile in the past year. He stumped first for Biden, now for Harris, and his Minnesota record is one of great popularity. Democrats got a narrow government trifecta in 2022. They took both chambers of the legislature and the governorship. And Walz and his colleagues in the legislature got right at it. They hit a bunch of progressive policies, and these were wins. And now, let me give you a couple of, because you go, oh, the progressives, oh my God, the progressives, the radicals, oh. Free school meals. Wow, is that such a huge, radical, awful thing? Free school meals.
So he's feeding the kids in his state.
Right, and a lot of kids we talk about it from time to time,
Yeah.
require that free meal. Otherwise, they don't eat. They go to school to eat.
That's right.
So that doesn't strike me as extreme in the least. And abortion protections, he codified Roe in his state. We already know that that polls incredibly successfully. So by doing that, he is very
Look
much
at
in
him
line.
there with the kids in the school lunch line. That's
He's the
cute.
real thing.
Yeah.
The guy is the real thing. He's worked in schools for most of his adult life as a teacher and a counselor. So what else did he do that was so progressive and wild and radical? Legalized marijuana. Again, it's not a policy position that's so unpopular.
Where are my weed smokers at?
I mean, if you poll it nationally, it polls very well. So he's doing things. You can characterize him, and I'm sure the Republicans are, oh my God, this guy's off the scale. He's scary, liberal, radical. I just told you those are all things that are completely consistent with popular policies within America, in red states and blue states.
How can you say it's liberal when everything you just listed is him doing nice things for people?
Well, because there are conservatives who are going to say, well, you call them nice things, but, I don't want my child to be more exposed to marijuana than they already are. And so for that reason, it shouldn't be legalized or whatever. There's always another position. You know what the position is on abortion protections, on the protections for a woman's right to choose. So you can call that a nice thing, but they would say, the right wing would say that it's a left wing policy to have this. So you get how the conversation goes. There are gun restrictions in Minnesota. This is a guy who is a gun owner himself. But again, once they got that trifecta going, they took both chambers of the legislature and the governorship with him as governor. Tim Walz got some real sound, and as I would say, I think they're mainstream policies that he got through. So, again, kids are eating, they can learn. This is what he said when an interviewer said, are these positions too liberal for the national stage? Quote, what a monster I am. Kids are eating and having full bellies so they can go learn, and women are making their own health care decisions. He is someone who I guess legitimately is kind of a down-home dude, and that may play. So then it becomes a question of what you want this ticket to be about. I'll say one thing about him that I really like. He comes across really well on television, in media interviews, and that's important. I wish it weren't important. I wish it was only important that, governance and policy and philosophy counted. But the way you come across and you communicate your policy positions, that's important. And he's really good. And now let me say something else. I hope Kamala Harris is as good as he is at making positions clear in various television interviews. Josh Shapiro is very good. Josh Shapiro is excellent with media. He's a kind of Buttigieg guy. So both these candidates who were candidates for running mate, both of them come across really well in these back and forths with media. But again, we have yet to really see, and I'm hoping that Kamala Harris can step up and also be good. I think she's been great to this point, but she's also got the wind at her back. I really want to see, in some tough situations, I hope that she will come through. But that's a little about Tim Walz, and you can see he's not some radical progressive, but it's all progressive policy. That's all that you're hearing about is progressive, progressive, progressive. Yeah, maybe those all seem pretty, ordinary. It's a spot for Tim Walz that he ran when he was running for governor. So this is not the spot that's running now.
Sometimes an everyday person comes along and helps put the impossible within our reach. The coach who could see a championship 3 years before the big game. The teacher who inspires generations one by one. The soldier who served for 2 decades, but ready when they attacked. Everyday heroes. Right here in Minnesota, Tim Walz is one of those everyday people. Coach to the state champs. Teacher of the Year, Command Sergeant Major. retiring 4 years late after a tour supporting the war in Afghanistan.
I'm not a politician, and I never plan to run for office. I've lived my life like most people, trying to do right by my family and my neighbors. But the same bad news night after night means we can't just sit on the sidelines. Our troops deserve a plan to win the peace. We can find solutions for healthcare and education. It's time to put the people's priorities first. But to change the priorities, we need to change the Congress. I'm Tim Walz, and I approve this message.
I mean, that's pretty great. That's really great. So I just think that's the kind of homespun feel that you're going to have with him. And that balances the California Democrat Kamala Harris. So
the attacks on Walz begin already. There's an article talking about how he had a DUI in the 90s, going 96 and a 55, and his mugshot is somehow circulating on the internet. I haven't verified whether that's even true or not. There's another hit piece on him saying that he has transformed Minnesota into a trans refuge state, protecting affirming care and providing tampons in boys' bathrooms at schools. So the conservatives are coming for him today in a big way.
Yeah. That's going to happen, That's going to happen. But look, they came for J.D. Walz. They're going to come for, J.D. Vance. They're going to come for Tim Walz. And, the critics I'm talking about and the opposition. And, that's all been factored in and baked in. So we'll see. I guess they've got a stump appearance tonight, and they'll sort of be the coming out party. But that's who he is, and I think there's a lot good about Tim Walz, and so that's pretty cool. Hi, it's Mark, and I thought that was great. Hit the notification bell. You'll know whenever there's a new video being dropped, and please subscribe to our channel to help us save the universe.